Hi everyone, welcome to Walking the Talk. My name is Kwame. I hope and pray that you don't ever receive bad news or have to give bad news. Hey, this is life, and life is made imperfect. And as imperfect as it is, we're going to see bad things happen and we're going to hear bad news. So, things happen in our lives that are very unpleasant. We don't want to hear them, but they happen anyway. Because as humans, we are imperfect and we live in an imperfect world. So if you receive bad news, what do you do? If you have to give bad news, how do you go about it? So this is what we're going to talk about. Bad news can be in so many forms. For some people, it could be receiving a new diagnosis or losing a loved one, losing a child. Um, what else? Um, um, Failing an interview, failing an exam, um, getting pregnant. It can be bad news for some people. So bad news happen, bad things happen. And one way or the other, human beings are the ones that are going to give the bad news or receive it. So let's talk about if you have to give bad news, how do you go about it? Okay. Um, as as a medical professional, we give bad news all the time. Usually it has to do with diagnosis, the progress of diagnosis or diseases, or people receive new diagnosis or they receive news about what is not working. And how do you go about when you have to receive a diagnosis? Or, I mean, not diagnose the bad news. Diagnose is one of them. So, if you're giving bad news, one thing that you need to keep in mind is that you have to be empathetic. Okay. Some people become sympathetic. And let me just tell you the difference. Being empathetic is more involved and more concerned than being sympathetic. Most people, when they are sympathetic to a situation, they like to sugarcoat it or cover it up with something that is nice. So let's say someone maybe lost a child. You, a sympathetic person would be like, "Oh, it's okay. You at least you have one child, or you have more eggs. You can give birth again." That is being sympathetic. You're trying to cover up the pain with something trivial or something that you think will make the person smile. And being empathetic is being there for the person. So, oh man, you got a new diagnosis. I'm really sorry. If you need anything, I'm going to be here for you. Do you need a cup of water? Do you need to go get you something? Whatever it is, you want to be there for the person. You don't want to throw in something that will change the whole. Some people try to change the whole topic and to make it feel like it's not a big deal. So we want to be sympathetic. No, you want to be empathetic to people. Next thing you want to do is that you want to help the person establish next steps. So if you're in some kind of authority, let's say you interview someone for a job and the person lost the job due to one or two things, you want to establish next steps. So if you want the person back for another interview, you tell them, okay, so this and this and this is why you lost this interview and this is why you might lose a job. Come back with better points on this or that. It happens with exams too. Like when people fail exam, you give them a second chance, you tell them what they have to do. um with kids, when you receive bad news with kids, or let's say you lost a child, um if you're giving someone the next step or establish the next step of losing a child, you want to go by go 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 this way. So you want to be like, okay, so this is what we can do. You have about 5 months or 6 months to get pregnant again. It's possible, and we're going to watch so that you don't lose a child again. Something like that. You give the next step. You want to be direct. So you call someone or maybe one of your brothers or your friends, and that the parent is dead or the loved one is dead. You want to be direct. First of all, you want to give them a warning shot. Hey man, or ma'am, whoever it is, have bad news, then they know that they're expecting bad news, and then you go straight to the point. You are not in any authority to decide when someone needs to receive bad news. If you have it, give it to them right away, but you have to do it empathetically. So yeah, you go straight to the point, tell them, I'm sorry, you have bad news. We just lost your mom. Or you just lost the job. I failed my exam. You give the bad news straight away and then allow the people to deal with it. And that's how it goes. One thing that you also want to do, usually, when bad things happen, it comes out like impromptu and then we don't know what to do. If you're giving bad news, make sure you give yourself about 5 minutes, stand in a mirror or whatever you do to rehearse, go and rehearse how you're going to give bad news. Because bad news happen, bad things happen, and we need to be ready for it. No one on earth will say that they never receive bad news or they've never given bad news to someone. It happens one way or the other, but we need to be ready for it. And next thing that you really, really want to do is to give solutions. So, as part of preparing and rehearsing on how to give bad news, you also want to give solutions. If there are any, help the person know what the next step is and what they can do to get out of it. Usually, people take time to heal from bad news, and it is okay. It becomes a big deal when it takes years or months for people to heal, but people need time to heal. These are the don'ts, and don't ever do these things. Don't give small talks, or then you try to lure them into the talk. Go straight to the point. Don't beat about the bush because it is hard time. And if you go with this step of saying we have bad news, this is not a time for you to start preaching or giving a sermon or giving Bible verses or trying to encourage them. Give that news and let the person deal with it. Um, don't allow for debate. If the person is angry and they're asking you questions, all you want to do is that because you didn't cause the problem, you want to say, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that this is happening to you. I'm sorry that you're going through this. I'm sorry. That's the only thing you can say. You cannot debate with the person at that time because they're confused, they're angry, and all they want to do is to blame and ask questions. Most people come out of these situations and they don't even know why they did some of these things or when they did these things. So you don't want to debate with them or trying to get them onto a positive kind of thinking. No, when people receive bad news, they need time to think about it. Sometimes they need time to actually adjust themselves, their emotions, so that they can absorb it. So don't ever debate with someone if you have to give bad news to them. And the last thing, let me look at it. Um, do not sugarcoat it. Don't sugarcoat anything. Do not sugarcoat any bad news, even if it's any information. Don't get into the habit of sugarcoating bad news. It is bad for business. I always talk about business. All right, so now we know what to do when you're giving bad news. Let's talk about when you are receiving bad news. We all know that bad news is everywhere. So now learn how to receive bad news. Sometimes you need a little bit of practice to be able to get into that mode. But yeah, if you're receiving bad news, these are the do's. Okay. These are the do's. One, give yourself time to absorb the information. Bad news is always unexpected, unwanted, and we are always not ready for them. So you give yourself time to absorb. Sometimes you have to expose yourself to the situation again, a second time, a third time, for you to really know, okay, this is my life now. This is my situation now. Some people receive bad news like once or twice or have in a month, a year. Some people's lives are just bad news. And if you are one of those people who receive bad news almost every single time in your life, I am so sorry. Some people are just that strong that they receive bad news all the time and they can handle it or they can't handle it. If you see someone going through bad news, do not ever throw the sympathy card in there. It makes things worse. whether it's one time in your life or whether you're used to it. I am sorry. I feel bad every time I have to give bad news because you know the reaction that comes from people. Accept your emotions. And usually these emotions are negative emotions. People cry, yell, insult people, curse out, give names, blame their creator or their um, source of power. You know, people blame their deity because of bad news that they receive. It is okay. There's people do it and they still come out of it. Know your negative emotions and accept them. If you're able to accept them, then you can come out of it. And next thing, repeat exposure to it. As I already said, you want to feel it. You want to know that it is reality. You're not dreaming. If you lose a loved one, it is a shock. If you lose a baby, it is bad. If you get pregnant that you're not expecting, or you're not trying to get pregnant, especially for the teenagers, it is bad news. Accept it. So there was a time when I was in Ghana, I received bad news. So I was trying to travel outside the country, and I had to go through some medical checks and all that. And I so they told me they diagnosed me with a viral hepatitis, and I was like, how would I get hepatitis? Like how what? Because I knew what it was, and I was like, this is not me. So they diagnosed me because I had dark urine and I was always tired. And my liver enzymes were up. So they said, okay, yeah, so you have hepatitis and viral hepatitis because they said I've had it for some time, so it's viral. And it got to a time that I had to pretend that I didn't have viral hepatitis because I didn't know how to diagnose myself and know whether I had it or not. So I totally forgot about it. I decided to erase it, that it wasn't there. Some of us, when we receive bad news, we try to pretend that it's not there. Try to get exposure to it. Now, when you have exposure to bad news, then you live that reality and then you take that step of doing something about it. I didn't want to do anything about it because I was playing, um, I don't care. It's not me. No, I'm not this kind of person. That's what some of us do. I'm not this kind of person. No, it shouldn't be me. I shouldn't lose my mom. I shouldn't lose my child. I should get that job. That the first interview, I should get it. You know, I shouldn't fail this exam. It is bad news. Get used to it or get real with it. It happened and it happens to you. It's okay. Things happen. And if it happens to you, you need to find solutions to it. So re-expose yourself to bad news. So it turned out that I don't have viral hepatitis because I went and checked and I found out that I was just dehydrated all my life. I was not drinking enough water and I was exercising and playing soccer all the time. So the little water in my body was just coming out dark. And as soon as I started drinking water, I felt good. I felt better. I don't feel tired anymore. And my urine is good. Liver enzymes are okay. If I didn't do something about it, if I played it off for that long and I didn't do something about it, probably I might get kidney disease or something else. But because I decided to, okay, this is my reality now. When I came to the States, I decided to go and check again if I do have biohepatitis, and I realized I don't. So now I know I've found solution to it. Even if I had biohepatitis, now I know that I do have it because I resensitized myself to it. And then now I can find solutions. Next thing, you want to learn to overcome it. And sometimes um, we end up being in this loop of asking questions, why me? Why me? Why me? It Bad things happen to everyone, and it can happen to you too. So get ready and get prepared so that you find solutions to it. So yeah, learn how to overcome it. If you need help from somewhere, find help because it is not easy to just snap out of bad news or bad situation. It is not easy. All we expect in our life is good life, happiness, and joy and everything. But if those things don't happen, we'll also need to be ready for it because they just don't, good things just don't come our way like we want it. Okay. So yeah, be kind to yourself. Sometimes when bad things happen, we tend to blame ourselves. We start blaming ourselves. We don't forgive ourselves, and we go on with this blame for a long time that we don't even do anything about it. We don't even progress because this life is all about progress. If you don't progress in this life, I don't know if you're going to progress in another life, if there is another life. But yeah, you need to progress. And if you need to progress, you have to be kind to yourself to move from one step to the other. Please forgive yourself. Forgive yourself, even if it's your fault. Try as much as possible to find a way to forgive yourself. And that's how you can move out of that bad situation or bad news that you received, caused by you or not. Um, Next thing, um, find healthy ways to vent. So when bad things happen, people do things the unthinkable. They go pick knives and stab themselves, start cutting themselves, and all that. Find healthy ways to vent. If you need a friend to talk to, if you need a family member, if you need a coworker who listens, or if you need a psychologist or a behaviorist, whoever you might need, find a good way to vent, to express yourself, to express your anger, your frustration, your pain, and all that. Find a good way to accept it. And then the next thing that you want to do is to there's the last one that help others who are affected by your situation or other situations. And this is how you get help um, um, from yourself, from within, and also from outside. So if you are able to help somebody who is going through the same thing, then you are able to get out of that situation. That's how it works. So yeah, we receive bad news, we give bad news. Either way, we need to know how to do it. And this is Kwame again from Walking the Talk. Today we're just talking about bad news because we will receive bad news one day in our lives, and we need to know how to handle it. We Some of us have handled bad news in crazy ways, ways that are not unthinkable, but now we know. So if you know how to handle bad news, um, go teach others. Share this video with other people. Share with someone who is going through tough times. That this will help them. And then follow the page, like, and share with me your comments on bad news and what you learn. And I'll see you another time. Peace.